Oh, you haven't heard this story. It all happened a few years ago. In short, because of the actions of one fool mutant. The humans hate all mutants now. We were forced to migrate, and now we're here. It's not too bad. The Mexican-themed Fallout Sonora is one of the crowning accomplishments of the classic Fallout modding scene. Yes, it exists. Some of you might be unaware of this fact, but there are dozens of individuals in over 3 countries still making content for the old Fallout. A little over a month ago, the Sonora devs released an expansion pack for the game. It's called Dayglow. So naturally, I go to the forums to see what the people are thinking, only to discover that on the day of release, the Dayglow thread had something like 10 replies. Ouch! What we have here is a culture of craft RPGs. These games are to indies are what indies are to big studio products. They are released for micro audiences of people with exotic interests, in some instances the audiences of dozens, who appreciate the art that goes into making these. And sure, the language barrier is a huge problem. If the game was in English, we might have gotten 20 replies. And despite not getting a cent for their efforts, the creators seem to be content with this state of affairs. Dayglow is the 3rd project from Alexander Pojeluzin's team. Craft RPGs are something we as a community have yet to fully process. Not only do some of the best creators out there work for free, but they don't even get social capital. They don't even get fame or respect for their efforts. And yet they still do what they do. I suppose it simply feels good and satisfying to be making games, and for some individuals, that is enough. Anyway, what is Dayglow? It's the first ever instance of anything on this engine getting a DLC. The adventure takes place after the events of Fallout 1, but decades before Fallout 2. Dayglow is San Diego. The official games make occasional references to this place. The NCR $100 bill portrays President Andy's incorporation speech at Dayglow. It can be seen on the world map in Fallout 1, but it's not a visitable location. The city was abandoned by its human residents due to the high levels of background radiation. The ghouls of Bakersfield, being displaced by Master's super mutant armies, moved into San Diego to build a new future for themselves. Aquinas spoke of the mythical city on the hill, and soon that city will be a reality. Or rather, as soon as we get to California. The adventure actually starts in Arizona. Our home, a place called The Villa, is an isolated community with few ties to the outside world. Our name is Carlos. I tag the speech skill. We'll be playing a diplomat for a change. Unarmed combat makes the early game much easier, and energy weapons are great in late game. How did we even acquire this skill? Well, perhaps we found an all-laser pistol manual somewhere. Is it redundant to tag 2 combat skills? Yes, it is. But I want to do unarmed exclusive content. And by mid-game, you usually have access skill points anyway. We pick the new Villa Traditions trait. It slows down our rate of level gain by 20%. Harsh, but gives a free awareness perk and a free educated perk. The story begins with a disaster. While we were busy elsewhere, our home was invaded by raiders. Our people were kidnapped. The wounded raider who got left behind in the cellar tells us this much. In the place where I'm from, he says, there are too many people and there is nothing to do. Nobody will miss you if you disappear. I should kill you, but I'm not in the best shape. Have to conserve strength, so you live for now. Oh, thanks! We get XP for interrogating the raider, but I'm not gonna say no to the kill XP either. Just yesterday, the villa was a thriving community, an oasis in the middle of the wasteland. We talk to the survivors, grab a few old books from the town hall, and venture into the outside world for the first time. The new world map theme was created for Sonora by the artist Nobody's Nail Machine. One needs to be level 7 in order to activate the DLC content. The process of us getting there will be shown as a series of anecdotes. The northwestern part of the world map, the patch of land between the Sonora and the Mojave, is home to a cannibal tribe. The Jackals, they're called. One of the tribes that emerged out of Vault 15. We kill to live. We are starving, and the stranger's flesh will be our food. With his body, we'll feed our children, says Mad Bitch. The approving howl of a dozen mouths echoes through the caves. One of the more indulgent things this game allows you to do is to negotiate a peace between the Jackals and the Desert Rangers, whose main base is just a week's journey south. These are the original Arizona Rangers who would eventually be integrated into the NCR, one of the major factions in Fallout Sonora. Once the local farmers start complaining about the Rangers, they won't shut up. Yes, the desert cops do offer protection, but they take a cut. And that's pretty much what the Raiders do as well. Worse, the Rangers draft local kids. Admittedly, not the most terrible career choice in the American wasteland, but some loving parents might disagree. The Ranger HQ is located in a dam and consists of the pre-war power plant section and the wooden barrack built after the apocalypse. It actually has a very homey feel. It's like a big comfy cabin in the woods. Time to put our debate skills to the test. Can you please explain to me why should we ally with a bunch of tribal cannibals? In response to this completely fair question, our protagonist constructs the argument that, well, there are many jackal communities scattered all over the Sonora and the Mojave, and hunting them all down individually will require a lot of ranger resources. So negotiating with Miss Mad Bitch is simply an efficient way of removing the jackal threat. I suppose I can see the logic in this, but I have to say, I'm not sure why our character, Carlos the Peasant, would be so invested in helping the cannibals. There is no material benefit for us or for the villa, not to mention that the jackals and the desert cops are some of the first foreign people Carlos has ever met in his life. Maybe that's the reason. He is helping them because he has an idealistic view of foreigners, having never met one before. Or maybe it's because it's an RPG, and in RPGers we love exploring exotic story paths. The Rangers sent a diplomat who can be found just outside the Jackal lair. We can chat him up on the status of the negotiations. It would have been very easy to delegate this to the endgame cards, but the developers make a special effort to show the effect of our actions in the game world. Once we get back to the dam, we witness one of the officers and the general engage in a yelling competition with each other over the unpopular Jackal Accords. So that's why we did it, to sow confusion within their ranks. A chaos agent. Located on the path between the villa and the city of Phoenix, the community of San Brahmin is hard to miss. The tribals breed cattle, they sell meat, they work with leather, the Brahmin are worshipped. There is a quest to clean up Brahmin poo. You get the idea, these guys are Brahmin fans. And you can tell by the nervousness of the soundtrack that this community is in trouble. An elder is preaching before the congregation. Look at these pagan things. Books, technologies, dangerous medicines. Phoenix taught us to trade Brahmin as if they are items, but these animals are holy. The heavily armed and numerous missionaries from Phoenix set up a camp near the town. They are on a diplomatic mission to sign a treaty with the cow people. The Desert Ranger, hanging out with the locals, says this is a thinly veiled imperialist expansion, and he is right. We use our diplomacy powers to convince the chief's son that the old ways are better. This has an effect of pushing the community towards the Rangers, who, unlike the Phoenician cultists, don't really care about what your culture is like, as long as you don't violate their laws. We gather a posse and attack the missionaries before they can attack us. And it's a disaster. The tribals are terrible fighters. You people are Brahmin herders. At least equip yourselves with leather armor. I reload to try negotiating with the missionaries instead. Of course, they won't surrender easily, says the cultist. This is why our mission is important. We are to show the tribals that their way is wrong, to show them that there is a better world. The argument that ends up working is that, well, since their mission is to win the hearts and minds of the locals, any bloodshed will pretty much invalidate that. And there will be bloodshed. The group of armed men standing behind us is evidence of that. So the missionaries leave. We'll follow them to Phoenix, the centrally located big city we've heard so much about. In the Sonora community, the design of the city of Phoenix is frequently criticized. This place is clearly smaller than New Reno, so why is the game trying to sell it to us as an overcrowded metropolis? Well, I can answer this question with another question. Has this ever happened to you? You are playing a top-down, text-heavy RPG, you enter a new location, your senses are assaulted by a dozen new characters shitting out buckets of exposition. The journal gets filled with side quests that you accept, and then immediately forget everything about. It can be hard to digest it all. In Fallout Sonora, the developers address this problem by designing individual maps to be a little smaller, but there are more maps. Some of the areas of the city will only be available via side quests, easily missable side quests in some instances, and this has an effect of making the locations in Sonora grow in size if you like them, but remain small if you don't. And speaking of things that I like, Phoenix has an RPG fighting arena. Each combatant comes with a short backstory, and you get to choose your alias, like in Fallout 2. I pick Cannibal, since we're such fans of the jackal culture. The spectators will actually yell out your name. That's very good. There are only a small handful of fights, and well, I couldn't finish the last one, since it looks like the opponent is scripted to be immune to crippling hits. So becoming a champion is a reward for extreme melee specialization. Simply tagging unarmed, like I usually do, is insufficient. The Church of the Holy Fire, led by Aaron, the self-proclaimed master of Phoenix. The church seems to be loosely based on the old Fallout 2 concept that was cut from that game. The monks collect and preserve old technical manuals, but they don't quite understand the knowledge in the literature. We donate old books we picked up back in the villa, and in exchange the librarian allows us to browse their archives. Each bookshelf raises a random skill by a few percentage points. The church used to be a harmless humanitarian organization. That was until Aaron came to power some years ago. Then the culture changed seemingly overnight. The cult expanded geographically, becoming a threat to other wasteland communities and to the rangers. Interesting that the monks had better luck taming the wasteland than they did the city of Phoenix. You won't find many cultists on the main street. The cops don't work for the church, and not that long ago, a bunch of missionaries got shot up outside the casino. Investigating the incident eventually leads us to an underground tram station, acting as a base for the Phoenician Liberation Party. We will build a better society, a society based on coexistence and equality. Both the Fire Worshippers and the FLP have short, mutually exclusive quest chains. The Phoenician Liberation Path ends with us directly assaulting the cathedral while backed by armed militants, who get a little carried away and slaughter all the unarmed, harmless cultists. That's something we won't be mentioning in the history books. First things first, we need to get rid of Aaron and his elite cadre. Pretty sure last time we played Sonora on this channel, I also killed him with a nuclear grenade. And then we descend into the vault beneath the church. Of course there is one. The scripting here is interesting. The game gives you a different squad of allies for every floor of the vault, so if you take casualties, it doesn't really matter. The battles are pretty hard though, and by the time we reach Aaron's mysterious advisor in the Overseer's chair, it's just us. And we are not equipped to survive twin minigun bursts. I hide behind the computer terminal, manually initiate combat, and toss 2 plasma grenades into the chair. We're done. My job was to destroy the old order. Yours is to build a new one. Good luck, asshole. A wanted poster with our face on it. It's time to hit the road again. Economic development in the region led to increased caravan traffic. This, in turn, led to the rise of the raider population. The raiders terrorizing the highways are calling themselves the Blue Shields. There is a reason we are in the gang. All of us are victims of circumstance. I played for the wrong team in Phoenix when Aaron took power. Had to flee to Casa Grande to escape the torches. In Casa Grande, people were fighting over the water pump. I picked the wrong side again. We need to be careful. If you don't have a high enough speech skill or a reputation perk the raiders like, they'll rob you out of all your money and items. A new order is coming to these lands, says Ben, the leader of Blue Shields. The new era of great road wars is coming. We need to fit in. His vision is to transform this place into a trading community, but in order to do that, he needs to make peace with the nearby towns. The Raiders quest chain is perfect for diplomat characters. Some of the skill checks are very hard, and I had to resort to alternative persuasion techniques. This was when I made the mid-game switch from unarmed to energy weapons. While doing jobs for Ben, we stumble upon a bunch of fun random encounters. Legend City used to be an amusement park. Still is one, actually. The price for beating one of the machines is a +1 point to a special stat of your choice. Very rare in this game. Another fun random encounter is the Lost Vault. Are you broken enough in the brain to recognize what this area is a reference to? Bosch Illusion! Make a Van Buren already. The design docs are out there. What? It's too big of a commitment? Consider that crowdfunding the development of mods and TCs is a pretty common practice. And yes, it is legal. The inhabitants of the Demo Vault ask us to repair their power plant, which we do. Thank you. We don't have much to repay you with. Take this flask. The overseer said it brought him luck. Is this a joke? A flask? Take off your jumpsuit. These go for a lot in Phoenix. One of the complaints I had about Fallout Sonora was the poor variety of random encounters. This was addressed in patches. The game no longer spams the same giant ant battle over and over. The encounters aren't quite as crazy inventive as in Fallout 2, but they're good enough. In this random battle, we help a group of highwaymen fight off bandits and get positive rep with Blue Shields. Ben welcomes us to the gang and gives a reward, a flamethrower and a Blue Shield leather armor. Not quite as strong as metal armor, but twice as light. This will become important very soon. But the real reward is something else. When I think of the Sonoran Desert, I think of two things: dirt and trouble. Brothers and sisters, today is an important day, the Day of the Living. We commemorate our saints who shield us from the wild beasts and robbers. Santa Ana is one of the few Spanish-speaking settlements in the game. Unless you have the Spanish literacy trait, you might have issues communicating. The church is closed, and it will remain closed until we find the ceremonial crown, which is the central quest in Santa Ana. Giant scolopendras are the new enemy type in Sonora. These things are infesting the local graveyard. Strange that all the graves seem to be really old. I guess the locals don't bury their dead here. The elder is grateful for us recovering the crown. Now I can finish the ceremony. It's an old tradition of ours. Once every few months we crown one of the people to remind everyone of equality and that each one of us can contribute to the common good. Lucia, a little girl, is chosen to be crowned today. And look at that, the entrance to the church is no longer blocked. Viva Mexico, yells the guard as he attacks. Lucia is found in the cellar. Go home, gringo. El Diablo is coming. Ah, so that's what it is. A high-effort Deathglow recolor. This is a hard fight because the creature's limbs cannot be crippled by criticals. Ours can, though. It broke my leg. We take the creature's skull as a trophy. It's an aesthetic upgrade for the bike. What have you done? The elder is enraged. I killed the monster. It's dead. Smoked. It went back to hell. Decades ago, a group of wasteland nomads came to the ruins of Santa Ana. They were stalked by a monster called El Diablo. The nomads settled in the ruins, and the creature below the church. Every once in a while, the elder would send a sacrificial victim to the Deathclaw. Leave, gringo, and never come back. My work here is done. Goodbye, old man. Getting to the DLC content is easy. Once you hit level 7, you get contacted by a male robot. Senor Carlos, this robot brings an important message for you. Dear amigo, I heard about your deeds in the Sonoran desert. Whatever it is that motivates you, your experience is priceless. History is being made in the ruins of San Diego. The local ghouls are fragmented and weak. They are about to make a fatal mistake. They need a hero. A caravan traveling to the city of ghouls is gathering in a place called Inferno. Here is a controversial feature, a weight limit. We need to travel light, so we can only take 20 pounds worth of stuff. To give you an idea, a suit of metal armor weighs 35 pounds. The reason this limitation exists is because scavenging for supplies is an important part of the Dayglow experience. Bringing your full arsenal might trivialize the game. We have to leave everything behind, except for the plasma pistol, a bladed glove, and the blue shield's armor. Let's do it. The adventure begins on the Mexican side of the border. We are in Tijuana. The district immediately north of the border wall is San Isidro, which happens to be, to borrow a local term, the most normie-phobic place in San Diego. The ghouls guarding the border say they'll allow us entry if we defeat the robot haunting the stadium. Torrio de Tijuana. Maybe a real place. There is a clever puzzle way of getting rid of the robot, but you can also just shoot it in the head until it dies. San Isidro is one of the 2 sizable settlements in the DLC. The first thing that catches your eye is the new sprite. There are a handful of these. They conform to the aesthetic really well. It is as if they were made by the original Interplay artists. Dayglow is known to be the birthplace of the followers of the Apocalypse. This is an old church of theirs. But due to high levels of background radiation, humans can't stay here for long. The only remaining follower is a ghoul who is concerned with the problem of the glowing ones going insane over time. And this beautiful gentleman is Gustavo Obanel Vallejo. I am in charge of San Isidro. I want to know, why have you disturbed our rest? Well, I'm not a racist. I love ghouls. I want to live among them, our character responds. You are a sleazebag. I won't tolerate any more lies. However, I'm willing to give you one chance. Do this job, and you can hug ghouls for the rest of your days if you want to. This is the first main quest of the expansion. We need to reactivate the San Diego power plant. There is no world map travel in the DLC. The city is located outside of the confines of the Fallout Sonora world map. The content is basically just a sequence of local maps linked together. This makes the process of exploring San Diego feel like, like a Todd game. You walk from A to B and experience a bunch of anecdotes on the way. Offices of the Border Patrol. Valuable electronics can be scavenged inside. The abandoned mall area is a home to a glowing ghoul who is quite mad. This was the exact moment I remembered that the follower gave us very specific instructions on how to communicate with them without violence. There is another glowing one in the sewers underneath the mall, and this guy is very chill. Whoa, bro! This is private property! The ghoul sells green mushrooms. Their importance might be unclear at this time, but later we'll find a device that allows crafting radaway cams out of these. Paradise Valley Hospital. Also a real place. A group of humans are torturing a ghoul for information. Most humans we'll meet in Dayglow are what they call black scavengers. They are like the stalkers from the STL-KER series. People who go on raids or expeditions into ghoul lands in search of undisturbed old world treasure. This place is the hotel called Le Pensione. We can offer you radium water, a radon bath, a uranium bath, and a Pluton shower. This is also a real place. TripAdvisor rating 4 out of 5. La Pensione Hotel immerses guests in the European exuberance and charm of San Diego's Little Italy. I am Albert De Santi. Welcome to my establishment. Albert starts the longest quest chain in the expansion. It's about growing his business and removing threats. He also calls bottle caps hub bucks, which is the language some individuals in the first game used, if I remember correctly. Here in the Old Town, we believe that we should help humans restore civilization with the help of old knowledge and technology, says the person in charge of the general store. And indeed, they have humans staying in the town hall/bar/library/hostel. 10 hut! I am John Butler. I rule this town. Fire! Fire! Butler allows the humans to operate legally if they possess a Mark of Seth, a license, a little tradition the ghouls brought with them from Necropolis. Humans and super mutants chased us off from our homeland. You probably know this story. But it's not the reason to hate everything. On the contrary, I want to show humans that ghouls are people too. Keep firing! Butler is progressive like that, but not all ghouls agree. Who cares about old-timers? We lived our lives. It's more important to think about your generation. Charge forward! So how can I help you? To help us cope with the absence of the world map, San Diego has a fast travel system. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of running around to fix the tram, and by the time you're done, the adventure will be almost over. It's the slowest fast travel system I've ever seen. Consolidated aircraft. Real? Yes. What did they make? They made Catalinas and Liberators. Cool. Inside, there is a group of heavily armed black scavengers. I killed them by kiting the group around the wreck of a car and ended up regretting this shortly after. John Butler eventually tasks us with recovering old technology from this place, and that involves a lot of busy work that could have probably been delegated to the scavengers if I picked a more diplomatic route. The stranger who invited us to San Diego left a message in the Old Town. Sorry I couldn't meet you. Gustavo and Butler have different visions about the future of Dayglow. I don't know who is right. Gustavo is old and senile. He understands nothing. Aim! Fire! You see, Gustavo wants to close the city to foreigners. I think it's stupid. Since the game doesn't have world map travel, it also doesn't have random encounters. Instead, the developers repopulate the areas we visited with new events. There are super mutants hanging out in the mall. That's the power plant Gustavo told us to reactivate. A human among ghouls? Suspicious, says the mutant. I have business here, and what are you doing in this place? Are mutants at peace with ghouls? Even the human is berating Pyle. Ghouls don't care about Pyle. Nobody likes Pyle. Sad, but understandable. The super mutant was kicked from his squad for an unstated reason. Pyle is Dayglow exclusive companion character and a Full Metal Jacket reference. He's very helpful in the battle against the robots guarding the power plant. Not sure if this is something Sonora does, or the exotic version of Sfol I'm running, but the muties can use normal weapons in this build. They are represented by heavy weapon sprites, but otherwise work normally. The power plant controls need to be operated by the ghoul mechanic who worked here before the war. He moves so very slowly. The main quest of the expansion is actually very short. From here on, Butler will send us on various tasks all over the area. These usually involve cannibalizing old technology, and Gustavo will want us to double-cross Butler, delivering the scavenge tech to him. Private Pyle is a reasonably well-developed companion who provides commentary on the places we visit and enables interesting interactions with mutant characters. Pyle? I had no idea you were with them. Normies and Shadows united. This never happened before. Well, if you travel with Pyle, we won't mess with you. I'm guessing Shadow is their word for Nightkin. You know, a long time ago, this land belonged to Mexico, but then Americans came and took over. But the war erased the borders. Now the land belongs to mutants, without race or ethnicity. See, it's wrong to say that the Master's plan didn't work. Unitism in one country. Even the mutants we battled previously, like the guys in the mall, are no longer hostile. A shadow following you. I don't like it. But if we attack them, Pyle will attack us. It's a very strange relationship we have. That's our old buddy Pyle. And with a human, lethal news. Like a snake making friends with a rabbit. I am very happy for you two. Now we have electricity and radio communications, like in the old days. What could be better? Everyone to the front! Everyone to war! Butler says a caravan belonging to the Fargo traders was ambushed not far from the old town. Ambushed by super mutants. If we attack them, or if they attack us, we lose Private Pyle as a follower. I sneak around the patrolling muties and talk to the trapped merchants. It's possible to evacuate them without fighting by sticking to the edge of the map, but that feels gamey. It's time we end our association. Pyle is useless for what comes next anyway. Butler says the caravanners were carrying a contract from the hub. They are offering hub bucks in exchange for the old world technology from the Coronado base, also a real place. The dream of Dayglow will be made real. Viva America! The base is well protected by automated defenses. Good thing the Fargo merchant sells combat armor. I ultimately chose to side with Gustavo in the political conflict. His people arranged the boat transport. Butler's idea of opening Dayglow to humans seems to mean opening it to black scavengers. The way I see it, no matter what we do, the ghouls will eventually have to fit into human society. But with Gustavo, they can at least do it from the position of strength. Once in Coronado, we sneak around the mechs, disassemble the howitzers for spare parts, and then use the parts to repair the artillery piece that happens to be pointing at the bunker entrance. And that's how we get in. The robots inside can be destroyed with EMP grenades. There are some in the lockers. We find tons of pre-war treasure here, like this Gatling laser, and a suit of power armor. What is this? A power armor with a built-in sombrero hat. This autonomous suit of armor was modernized in accordance to the specifications of the Mexican military. It offers less protection than the base model, but has lower weight. Okay. The terminal next to the supercomputer deactivates the automated defenses. And that's it. The dungeon is very small. Let's go back to civilization. And who are you boys? None of your ghoul business. So you're mercenaries, of course. Butler won't back off without a fight. But you're too late. Coronado belongs to the ghouls of San Isidro. There is no place for you here. The screen fades to black, there are sounds of fighting, and then we are knocked unconscious by an explosion. Hey, are you alright? Wake up. I was afraid you didn't receive my invitation. Maybe you've heard of me. It doesn't matter. I'm glad you were able to complete this mission. Since there are no ending slides in the DLC, this character, who I assume is the Vault Dweller, will provide closure. Gustavo will emerge victorious. Most ghouls will join him. Dayglow will live a boring and a peaceful existence. That's what many of them wanted. Well, my business here is concluded. Yours too, I assume. Good seeing you. Adios, amigo. Once we leave, it's impossible to come back to Dayglow. Gonna take the tram I repaired back to the border. We collected enough sophisticated equipment to become a threat to any Sonoran entity. The Rangers, the Slavers, the Colts, the Raiders, we can wipe out all of them if we wanted to. But I forgot about the carry weight limitation. We can only take 100 pounds worth of equipment with us. God damn it! I guess the follower in the church was a nice enough guy. He can have the Mexican power armor and the Gatling laser. Time to go home. Sure, we weren't able to bring the treasure of Coronado with us, but ultimately there is something more important than Gatling guns, and that is lived experience, quantified as 60-something extra skill points to invest in whatever. The main quest of Sonora has us traveling all over the wasteland in search of groups of the kidnapped residents of the villa, the isolated settlement we grew up in. Once we rescue all of them, the villagers gather in the town hall to discuss their future. The conversation quickly devolves into a shouting match. They are pissed. The former victims are giving in to righteous anger, demanding retribution against the people who wronged them. The mine in the city of Flagstaff is operated by slaves. The slaver organization poses a threat to our community. The mine must be destroyed. Yes, or we can repair the mining robot to make slave labor obsolete. The scavengers in the nearby garage city possess sophisticated industrial equipment. It will bring commerce to that place, meaning it will eventually attract foreigner attention to the villa. It needs to be destroyed. Sure, or we can take advantage of the new trade opportunities. I mean, we can't exist in isolation indefinitely. Eventually we'll have to join the larger regional community. It takes some convincing, but the villagers agree. The final step in the main quest is making an alliance with a powerful local nation. This is meant to guarantee the safety of the community in the medium term. So who will be our patron? It can be either the Rangers or the Brotherhood of Steel. Oh yes, we've met them. Killed one of their officers in the vault beneath the Phoenix Cathedral. But what if I told you there was a third option? No gods, no masters. If we downsize the Rangers and get rid of the Brotherhood expedition, maybe a new force can assert itself in Sonora. Perhaps it will be the Phoenician Liberation Party, or Ben's new trading empire of the highways. I put all our Dayglow skill points into stealing. Thievery in Fallout Sonora is threshold-based, meaning that without any skill investment, you can no longer take a peek into another person's inventory at will, which sorta blows. But on the upside, the devs made sure that many quests in the game can be solved by specialist thieves. Using our newly acquired skills, we borrow the damn access card from the Ranger General. The main computer can be programmed to raise the water level, washing the comfy Ranger barrack into the river. This doesn't even make the Rangers hostile. This is not the end of the organization, but without the HQ and much of their officer corps, they won't be able to project power quite as effectively. The Brotherhood of Steel sent an expeditionary force to the Sonoran Desert. It's a technology-gathering mission. Their ship is currently docked at the Mexican town of Puerto Peñasco. But alas, war never changes, and in order to complete their mission, the Paladins had to do a little nation-building, a little imperialism, a little war. The Brotherhood General is now represented by a new sprite, added in one of the later patches. He has a high-level access key in his inventory. It's very hard to steal. I actually had to go back into the wasteland and grind one more level. This is how I learned that the bedridden ghoul mother from the zombie hotel location, we explored that one in the previous Sonora video, she now also has a unique sprite, along with a death animation. A lot of work was put into this game post-release to add little things here and there that almost no one will see. A craft Arpager. After stealing the key, we unlock the targeting computer, reprogram the nuclear torpedoes to detonate on a timer, and flee the scene. The ship's detonation cinematic was also changed in one of the later patches. There is nothing wrong with the old version, but this is better. It is our chance to finally stand on our own 2 feet. Now, I must take my leave and think about this story. And these are the last words Carlos would say in this adventure. He does have a lot to think about, doesn't he? Like, why did we install a cop-cannibal alliance at our border?
У истории нет ни начала.
History doesn't have a beginning or an end. Our people protected themselves from the chaos of the Sonoran wasteland by building a wall and purchasing weapons. For several generations, the community would prosper no matter what happened outside its borders. The Rangers paid for their alliance with the Jackals with their reputation, but the plan worked. The reservation they created succeeded in making the tribals less aggressive. The cow people maintained their authentic culture. It was as if nothing happened. They are very stupid. Without their Brotherhood benefactors, the Church of Phoenix returned to the peaceful identity it had in the past. And the Blue Shields became a trading community. They were selling fuel. The raider base used to be a gas station. Once the reserves ran out, the former raiders packed their bags and moved east, founding a hunting settlement. Alright, patron credits and then the final review bits. These videos I brought to you by the adepts of the immortal science of Masterism Gustavoism, including Jim Lawrence, Kyle Shadow Simmons, Snafu, Darkbot Pumpkin, Ilya Rubin, Azazel and Baneful the Doggo, Dmitry Yu, Tony Spagani, Source is the best engine ever made, Ray Ners, C6, Danny Kilpatrick, I Feed My Parrot Chicken, Miracle Moses Porter. No need to wear hat now. My next video will be on I Divine Cybermancy, 1967 Ford Mustang, Yuri Solodovnichenko, Nathan Kabiska, Buck Swope, Marching Iron, Hank of the Hill, Eric Luitke-Hans, Gang Warfare Enthusiast, Frog, Ganso Bomber Motherfucker. So, Fallout Dayglow. Let's talk about what worked and what didn't. First of all, the new art is excellent. Some of the Sonora graphics are superior to the art introduced in Fallout 2. And there are quite a few memorable characters. Butler with his insane speech pattern, Private Pile, the Philosopher Ghoul. The text quality in general was improved. It seems much of the original Sonora text was trimmed down. And the new music is great. I like the Sonora and the Dayglow soundtracks more than the non-licensed parts of the music from Fallout 3 or Vegas. The tracks are available on Bandcamp. Nobody's nail machine. The Dayglow content takes 6 or so hours to complete. With the DLC, Sonora is now about the same size as Fallout 2, which is around 30 hours of gameplay. So what didn't work? Well, that's easy. The structure. The absence of the world map. The fact that you have to stay in San Diego until you finish the content, and that you can't go back once you leave. They should have made a normal, visitable green circle, or several circles. I imagine this wasn't done because making changes to the world map would have necessitated rewriting a lot of scripts. That's possibly an excessive amount of additional labor. So I understand. But the classic Fallout is all about giving you the tools to design your own story. And it would have been better if we had more freedom in how to go about integrating Dayglow into a playthrough. And there is no narrative reason to compartmentalize the content the way they did. The expansion doesn't have a particularly strong main quest. There is no real urgency to anything. It would be cool to bring the Sonora companions to Dayglow, or to bring the Dayglow companion to Sonora. Thanks to Alexander and the team for an excellent Fallout game. I'll see you all in a few weeks when we return with another channel staple, which is Vatnik Studies.